through the doors in UKIP colours, and 10 things you didn't know about UKIP and Nigel Farage. You know, well, there you are. We haven't found it all out, thank God. But all I do know is that when other parties start to attack you, and when Sunday newspapers write alternative CVs about your lifestyle, which if they were true I'd be thrilled with, you know then that you're winning. You know then that you're winning. Because when they start to play the player and not the ball, it means you're winning the argument. And I genuinely believe that over the course of the last week or so, with our broadcasts, with the publicity we've had with these senior figures like Wheeler and Tebbit saying what they're saying, I believe we're beginning to win the argument. I have no doubt that between now and June the 4th, the better we do, the more unpleasant they will be. Yes. But I'm not going to play their game, I'm not going to throw insults back, I'm going to ignore the buggers and get on with the campaign and try to engage the British people out there, because that is what elections are supposed to be about. Yeah.
UKIP MEPs aren't going to be tainted like our government with expenses investigations, are they? If the Telegraph decide to have a go?
In every single political party, in every company, and in every family, you get the bad apples, you get the black sheep, and we, no question about this, we had 2 of our members that broke faith with us and did not behave and did not tell us the truth and did not behave in a way that we saw fit. And so what we did, and in one case, he said, but it's okay, Gov, I've paid the money back. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, when Cameron gets up, or when Brown gets up, and little Hazel Blair's, well, when she gets up, you can't tell anyway, can you? Sorry, I'm trying to be serious here, but I'm failing very bad. Let's start again. So when they get up and say we're paying the money back, as far as I'm concerned, paying the money back is as good as an admission of guilt. And what we've done in UKIP, when we found these 2 people that broke faith with us, we got rid of them, which is a marked contrast to the way the Labour and Conservative parties have dealt with their people, where initially they try to brush the problem under the carpet, and then they try to protect them in every way they can. The message from UKIP is we will not tolerate financial misdemeanours from any elected representative of our party, and just to make absolutely sure that that does not go wrong ever again in the future, we've got Marta, who, while she's wonderful, is dreadfully bossy. And I think, you know, when you've got someone like this, looking after the party's finances, I think we can hold our heads up, because the other parties, all of them, have tried to brush this under the carpet for years. It's only now it's actually come out into the open that they're beginning to apologise and pay the money back. So I think, to be honest with you, I think the worse this expenses round gets, the better UKIP will be, because when we've had problems, we've had the courage to deal with them.
Nigel, interesting times. Probably the leading political blogger in the UK, Ian Dale, filled out one of these computer forms which says which party should you support. He said, I'm embarrassed to admit I should be supporting UKIP, but I'm not going to. And that was 2 weeks ago. Last weekend, before the scandal, the Conservatives' share of the vote fell 4%. Now they've had the scandal. Do you think that perhaps the tribalism that has fueled Labour and the Conservative Party for far too long, where they've been running on empty with nothing to say about the future of Britain, may actually start falling away, and UKIP may be seen as something that the ordinary person in the street will feel comfortable supporting? It's better than the alternative.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, I think that's beginning to happen. I mean, and it's funny how you pick these things up. It's little straws in the wind, isn't it? But as I was coming up to London this morning and got to the station and went down the stairs, and the train was there, and I went to get on the train, and the driver leaned down the window and said, I'm with you, Governor. And just little things, but nice, you know. It's just little things like that. The chap on the door downstairs, when I arrived tonight, he said, you got my vote. So it's little things like that that are happening that give me the feeling, Henry, that I actually think that what we've got going for us now is momentum.
Yes.
And momentum I learned this in 2004. Momentum is not caused by any one event on its own. Momentum is caused by thousands or tens of thousands of little conversations happening simultaneously across the whole country. And the great thing I'm getting from people is, look, we've always listened to what you've said. We've always felt, gosh, let's hope he's not right. We've always voted for other parties, but here, you know, we are so disgusted, not just with the expenses scandal, but with politics in this country. We're so disgusted with the whole thing that this is an opportunity to go out and lend UKIP their vote. And I'm not going to stand here and make any predictions about what we're going to do, because I've got to get to Ladbrokes in the morning myself first, but I'm not going to make any predictions as to what we can do. But what I do know is that if people are able to see beyond their tribal loyalty, and I'm sure there are some of you in this room who have got a strong attached tribal loyalty to a political party, if people are able to see beyond that and to see that here is an opportunity to really cause a massive shake-up in British politics, then I hope they'll go out and do it. And I think we could. I'll go as far as this. I think we could really cause something of an earthquake in Westminster on June the 4th. And my goodness me, it needs it. Yeah.
Nigel, that's great. Assuming because of the earthquake, what happens next? What happens in June the 5th? How do you achieve your goal of getting Britain out of the EU?
There are three ways that I can see, perhaps four. Perhaps there are four ways that we can get ourselves out of this political union and back to, and you know, let's have a trade agreement, let's be friendly, let's be good neighbours. Well, with the French that'll be tricky, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. That'll at least be the intention. But there are four ways this can happen. The first is they expel us. And I would love to be able to say that I'd caused it myself, but they're not going to expel us. They're not going to say no to £40 million a day. It ain't going to happen. So you can write that one off. The second way we can win is that our political leaders have some sort of Damascene conversion and realise that it's time they put the interests of the country and their constituents before their own personal career and financial interests. In my view, with the current mob we've got, that's pretty unlikely. The third way that we can win is that UKIP itself, in the general election of 2010, wins, is it 329 seats, I think it is, that we need. We win 329 seats, form a government, be head of a party, wouldn't it? But form a government, but with the best will in the world, whilst we might sweep the board in a European election on PR, you know, however well we do next year, we're not going to form a government next year, all right? And the fourth, and the most likely way, and in fact, I think actually the only realistic way this is going to happen, is that we have to force the big party leaders to give us a referendum on our future. All right? And this is my strategy. My strategy is this, that we contest these European elections, that we try and cause the earthquake, that we try and make sure there is a debate that is actually being had in this country about open borders, about costs, about all of these things that the big three don't even want us to discuss, and which incidentally the BBC ought to be doing a damn sight more on £139.50 a year of our money to make sure that we do discuss. But that's another issue. We'll have another meeting when I can slag off the BBC. But the only thing, in my opinion, that they will respond to is fear. And if they see a massive UKIP vote, and if I'm able to say to them, the day after the European elections, well, here are 500 candidates, here are 500 people who are going to contest the next general election for, for UKIP, and in the marginal seats, they could make the difference between who wins the general election or who loses the general election, and the only way in next year's election that you can stave off the threat of UKIP is by making an absolute promise that within 1 year of becoming Prime Minister, you give the British people a free and a fair and open referendum in which they can decide their future, because we don't find it acceptable that that future should be decided by career politicians on three-line whips in Westminster. That, I think, is the only sensible, realistic, achievable way that we can win this in a short space of time. If we don't win this in a short space of time, and if we don't win this democratically, then frankly I fear for what we're going to be in years to come. We've seen specimens of this in Greece and countries like that, and rapidly what the EU is becoming and what it will become after the Lisbon Treaty, it is rapidly becoming an economic and political prison. And I really believe that it will lead in the end to enormous economic and social disorder. So I want to win through the ballot box, and I believe that strategy over the course of the next year has some chance of actually working. But it will only work if the earthquake is sufficiently large enough on June the 4th.